Welcome back, everybody, to the Nerdcore podcast, the podcast that reviews the movies and talks that nerd shit. This is episode 598, and it is your review of Inception. As we continue on with Christopher Nolan Month here, it is your host, Raul Alejandro Mendoza, aka the Nerd Chicano, right next to Brad Young Yoda here.
Welcome, everybody. A wonderful Monday.
Yep. Recording live and early for our patrons over at patreon.com/the nerdcore. At the $1 tier, you get this episode live and early before anybody else gets to listen to it on Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Central Time. And of course, we want to thank our Patreon producers, but we'll talk about them later on in the show. And Brad, before we get into any of this, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Raul. Doing well.
Yeah?
Yeah, not too bad.
All right. All right. I'm glad you're doing all right. How was work?
Uh, Uneventful for the most part.
Oh, man. Don't get to watch movies, bro?
No, I don't get to watch movies at work. Like some people I know.
Hey, I don't watch movies at work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, I went to work and I helped the kid, what's it called, the students today, and I helped the workers. And yeah, so I did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you watch movies? I'm just saying.
I don't watch movies, Brad. I research. I do research. You know.
I research movies by watching them.
Yeah, just like I researched the World Cup when that was going down.
What did you find from that research?
Live switching and camera angles and
Mm-hmm.
audio and all the
Uh-huh.
things that I need to learn to be able to give my work the best production that they want, bro.
I see you went to college to be a master bullshitter like myself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God! Well, happy Oppenheimer and Barbie week. This is the week that Christopher Nolan's new film Oppenheimer drops, and I'm watching it on Thursday.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppen, Brad. Don't say it like Luis.
Oppenheimer.
Don't say it like Luis, bro. Don't say it like Luis. I cringe every time I hear Luis say
Lieben, Glauben,
Oppenheimer.
Globentraten.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm watching Oppenheimer on Thursday. I'm watching it in the theater, but I will still be on for our review on that day. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see this film. Yeah, I that's all I can say. I'm excited. I don't know what I'm gonna get, but hopefully he look. It's a straight up adaptation of a book, and he has just expressed that like what some of the scenes are going to mean because some of them are in black and white and some of them are in color. I'm hoping he doesn't pull any of like what's in this movie or like what's in Tenet or like Interstellar, and he just decides, hey, I'm just doing a straight up adaptation of a book.
Huh, you know,
Yeah,
that's never a bad thing. Kurosawa did that all the time.
yeah. Nolan's Barbie's gonna be great. How he got Bale to take the role. Yeah.
Where's Ken?
He has been doing a lot of he's been doing press because of course the actors can't do press, so they're all talking to Nolan. And Nolan refused to comment on whether he would direct a Star Wars film. So that actually got me like, ooh, what would a Nolan Star Wars look like? And
Mm.
he said he's never going to direct another superhero movie ever again, but he did refuse to comment on whether he'd direct a Star Wars movie.
You know,
That's
you never know.
interesting.
That is interesting. I wonder, but can you imagine a Nolan Star Wars?
Imagine a Nolan Knights of the Old Republic, Brad.
That'd be kind of dope. I don't know. Sometimes I like Nolan, and then sometimes I like these movies are too overly convoluted, and he smells his
Like,
farts.
get out your ass.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, either way, it was interesting to hear that. He refused to comment. So I'm like, I wonder what that's all about. Is somebody signed to an NDA?
Mm.
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 Yes. But today we're going to be discussing the 2010 hit Inception. And Stacy says, just a Nolan episode of The Mandalorian. Oh my God. I don't even want to know what that would look like.
I don't know. I've been liking The Mandalorian so far. I don't think,
Yeah, but
like give Nolan a full movie.
Give Nolan a movie. You give Nolan a trilogy or a movie, not a fucking episode of a series that's mostly controlled by Dave Filoni and
Yeah,
yeah,
they're doing fine with the television.
yeah. Let him get a movie. But yeah,
What was
man.
that? That Star Wars it was a video game and it had like a Star Killer in it.
The Force Awakens.
Is that
Oh, I'm sorry. The Force Unleashed.
The Force Unleashed? Okay, that's a terrible title.
Wait,
But
no.
can you imagine Nolan Star Killer?
Oh my
Like
God, yeah. Yep. Star Wars: The Force Unleashed and The Force Unleashed
that's a
2.
terrible title. So we would have to change that to like Star Killer or something.
Yeah. Star Killer, a Star Wars story.
Star Killer, a Star Wars story by
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan.
The thing is that they basically retconned that shit, bro.
It's fine. It's Nolan. What the fuck he care?
What if
If
I
Nolan
could?
went if Nolan went in there with the script and says I want to make a Star Killer movie, you know what they're fucking making?
A Star Killer
They're
movie.
making a fucking Star Killer movie.
Yeah.
They made a
With
retcon that. They can
Killian
retcon it
Murphy.
back and be like,
With
okay,
with
back into
Killian
canon.
Murphy, bro. With Killian Murphy as Star Killer.
Yeah, just back into canon.
Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, I was reading that today and it was just had me like wondering. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But Brad, we're gonna go ahead and talk about this. So if you all have not watched Inception, then you want to get out of here if you care about spoilers. But if you don't care about spoilers, or you've already seen the film since it came out in 2010,
Yeah,
it's a
it's
whole
been
ass
13
freaking
years. Jesus
decade
Christ.
old.
What are y'all
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah. Then you can go ahead and stay. Either way, how any of that goes, this is your one and only spoiler warning. And it is in effect in a five, four, three, two, one. I believe I selected Inception, right?
Indeed, but I just want to say one thing. Inception is the Doctor Strange before Doctor Strange.
Yeah. Well, I believe they used the same studio, right?
I would imagine because it's like the same whole.
The VFX, yeah.
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 How else you get the Earth to like curve like
Yeah.
that?
I don't know, Brad.
Flat Earth
Inception
theory.
Inception is a 2010 science fiction action film. Let's not go ahead and attract the wrong crowd here, Brad. Written and directed by Christopher Nolan, who also produced the film with Emma Thomas, his wife. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio as a professional thief who steals information by infiltrating the subconscious of his targets. He is offered a chance to have his criminal history erased as payment for his implantation of another person's idea into a target's subconscious. The ensemble cast includes Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Marianne Cotillard, Elliot Page, who at the time was going under Ellen Page, but he transitioned in 2020. Tom Hardy, Dilip Rao, Killian Murphy, Tom Berenger,
Is that
and
Cillian?
Michael Caine.
Cillian?
Cillian?
I think it's Cillian. I don't know.
I don't know, Brad.
It could go either way.
Killian, Brad. It's K. It says here in the phonetic pronunciation
Huh.
Killeean.
Okay.
Yeah. After the 2002 completion of Insomnia, Nolan presented to Warner Bros. A written 80-page treatment for a horror film, envisioning dream stealers based on lucid dreaming. Deciding he needed more experience before tackling a production of this magnitude and complexity, Nolan shelved the project and instead worked on 2005's Batman Begins, 2006's The Prestige, and The Dark Knight in 2008. The treatment was revised over 6 months and was purchased by Warner in February 2009. Inception was filmed in 6 countries, beginning in Tokyo on June 19th and ending in Canada on November 22nd. Its official budget was 160 million, split between Warner Brothers and Legendary. Nolan's reputation and success with The Dark Knight helped secure the film's 100 million in advertising expenditure. Inception's premiere was held in London on July 8th, 2010. It was released in both conventional and IMAX theaters beginning on July 16, 2010. Inception grossed over $828 million worldwide. And you wonder why he kept getting the budgets he kept getting, y'all. It's because he delivered. Becoming the fourth highest grossing film of 2010. What the hell was above that?
Probably some James Cameron piece of shit.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1 at 3, Alice in Wonderland at 2, and
Really?
Toy Story 3 at number 1.
Alice in Wonderland. Really? Wow.
Damn. I
Everybody high on mushrooms.
you know. Considered one of the best films of the 2010, Inception won 4 Oscars: Best Cinematography, Best Sound Editing, Best Sound Mixing, and Best Visual Effects. It was nominated for 4 more: Best Picture, Best Original Screenplay, Best Art Direction, Best Original Score.
Okay,
At
what
the
won Best Original Screenplay?
God damn it, Brad.
I'm just wondering.
So this would be the 2011, right? Well, how about you read the cinematographer and all that stuff, and
All
I
right,
will go ahead and find this.
cinematographer by Wally Pfister, edited by Lee Smith, music by Hans Zimmer. Running time 148 minutes, budget of 160 million, box office 836.8 million dollars.
Yeah. What won that year was The King's Speech for Best Original Screenplay, which was
Yeah, that makes sense.
no, it does. It's not deserved.
Eh.
I've seen. Have you seen The King's Speech?
Mhm.
No, I
I've
don't.
heard about it though.
I think if you compare those two screenplays, I think that Inception's is way stronger.
I mean, yeah, that's why I'm kind of surprised anything beat it.
Yeah.
But King's Speech was like everywhere.
Yeah. Well, so was this one. I mean, that's the thing, Brad. I was gonna say you could not like. I was relatively young in 2010. Brad was in his 20s, right?
Yeah.
You did not stop hearing about Inception.
No, and you know why?
Why?
Because of the Dark Knight. That's exactly what this damn thing is. Right. Like I guarantee you, if the Dark Knight had not done as well, this movie would
Nobody
not have
wanted
done
it.
as well.
Nah.
No,
Well, if the Dark Knight didn't do well, they wouldn't have given them the money for this movie.
no. But if he had not done the Dark Knight either, if this had come out before the Dark Knight, I don't think it would have done as well. Because the
Yeah.
Dark Knight, after the Dark Knight, everyone was like wanting to see whatever Nolan put out.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I had gotten my PS3 in around this time. And my dad was buying Blu-rays and he said, "Oh, Inception." He picked it up and he bought it and I
Yeah.
we watched and I was like I was amazed when I watched it as a kid. I was like, "Oh my god, this is
I mean, for
incredible."
the time, now you see it in every fucking Marvel movie, but at the time, it was very surreal. It was crazy the effects in this.
Oh yeah. But Brad, what are your initial thoughts on Inception?
Um, it's a Nolan blockbuster. What do you want? Like, look at the cast. Look at that cast: DiCaprio, Ken Watanabe, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Marion Cotillard, Elliot Page, Tom Hardy, Cillian Murphy, Michael Caine. You know what this reminds me of? Fucking Dark Knight Rises, because he just used the same goddamn cast.
That's true.
Other than
Don't
Elliot Page, same goddamn cast.
yeah.
And Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, Watanabe, man. Oh my
Watanabe.
god. Watanabe is just great in this movie.
Watanabe.
Watanabe, yeah. Come on, Brad.
What?
That's the legend, Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, I know, I know.
That's the one Asian that everybody
I
always
can't,
casts
I
in
can't
freaking
read,
Hollywood,
son.
man. Yeah.
But yeah, I
But hey,
mean
he's a goat.
that's
He's a
literally
legend.
the same cast in The Dark Knight Rises right there.
Yeah. God,
But
now I wanted Ken Watanabe to be in the Dark Knight Rises.
that would have been kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, like this movie is just visually spectacular. I prefer this one way more than I do Tenet, because you know, people think this story is convoluted. This story is straightforward to me. It's a dream within a dream within a dream, and they're trying to just plant subconsciously into this dude's head what really didn't happen. Um, but yeah, um, and the visuals like just crazy at the time, where literally they slow down a van and then have two other stories going on at the same time. I mean, it's one of Nolan's probably best.
Yeah. So for dream sequences in Inception, Nolan used little computer generated imagery, preferring practical effects whenever possible. Oh my god.
So he rolled a whole street. No, I'm just kidding. No, but that room that Gordon Levitt's in, where
Yeah.
when the van's like going tumbling, yeah, he
Yeah.
actually used a spinning room.
Yeah.
And apparently, I think from what I heard, some stuntmen got hurt in that damn thing.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what happened with the he actually blew up that shit in the last part of the film. But because he blew it early and they what's it called? They didn't even start recording at the time. The fucking thing blew up early, so he had to delay production and build that shit all over again.
Fuck.
So like it's my god, it's crazy, man. I
All
mean,
right, Tarkovsky. Jesus Christ.
yeah, yeah. Except this time, I mean, the film didn't get jammed, Brad. He just they fucking did it. Yeah. Um.
Wait, so they blew up that whole like the snow like fortress right there. They blew that shit up.
Yep.
God damn. Okay.
Yep. Um.
Nolan's
To
freaking
this
nuts.
to
I
this
just want to
end,
say no, like would it have been just it would have been just expensive to do all that CGI probably, right?
yeah.
I guess then you just have fun blowing the shit up.
So here it says to this end, visual effects supervisor Paul Franklin built a miniature of the mountain fortress set and then blew it up for the film. For the fight scene that takes place in zero gravity, he used CG based effects to subtly blend elements like physics, space, and time.
Hmm,
And look, man, I love this movie. This movie's fucking fantastic. It is my second favorite film from freaking Nolan. I
pretty good.
Because this was the first Nolan that like I remember like watching that wasn't the Dark Knight
Yeah,
stuff.
was it a Batman film?
Yeah, and I was blown away because like they really do not make them like this anymore. And I know that is such a cliched thing to say, but like this is the sci-fi action blockbuster that is missing from Hollywood for so long now. Like they don't make it like this, bro. Like
No,
now, if you make something like this, it will not make $838 million at the box
unless you.
office.
I think unless your name's Christopher Nolan behind it. I mean, how much did Interstellar make? It made probably
A lot.
yeah a lot.
But I mean, you also have to think about it, like, and that's where maybe maybe we would have be having a different conversation if Tenet had actually come out in 2021 instead of 2020 when it was when the pandemic was at its height, and it would have had the time to make actual money at the box office. But we don't know, and we don't know what that would look like, and right,
I mean,
but
honestly, it probably would have,
yeah,
and I would have been pissed walking out of that theater because I did not understand the film at all.
and Oppenheimer would have been made by Warner Brothers.
Well, maybe,
So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's true.
the breakup would have never happened.
Yeah,
But I digress. What I'm trying to say is that like Nolan's whole like film here is just how he's able to build from this like screenplay that's not just even based on like the action and all, but like this story of a man who what's it called is trying to get just honestly, bro, he's just trying to see his kids again.
he's trying to see his kids again, and also he's dealing with some PTSD over
Mm-hmm.
killing his wife without
Yeah.
meaning to kill his wife. All over a simple phrase he places in her subconscious.
Yep. And like the cast is incredible here. I mean, like Ken Watanabe does amazing here. Marianne Cotillard is just bone chilling in this film, bro. She's great in this film.
Can
Um,
I just say I mean I think I'm going back to like the Dark Knight Rises. I don't
yeah,
think I appreciated this film back in my 20s when I first watched this.
yeah,
But now I go back and I watch this film and I think I appreciate it a lot more and I get the gravity and understand because back in my 20s I was like this is a really cool movie. Visual effects and all that shit. I think that's what I was focused
yeah.
on.
And then
And
we had everybody breathing down our necks, right? Like Inception, Inception. You gotta watch Inception. Like Inception's the greatest movie right now. Like and all that stuff.
yeah,
So the hype was really
and
there.
yeah, I'm in my 20s. I go in and I see it, and and I'm just looking at the visuals, just like holy god, like shit, like that room spinning. Gordon Levitt is like flying down the goddamn hallway. Now he's placed him in an elevator for some reason, and then explosions. But then I get to watch it the second time, and I get to understand the story a bit more, and I get to look at Leonardo DiCaprio's character, and it all just I mean, it all kind of comes into focus. Like the visuals are great and all, but this doesn't work without a great script and a great story and a great
Hmm.
director in order to make it. And this story is probably one of Nolan's best
Yeah,
after Interstellar.
yeah. That is right. Like I said, it's number two, bro. It's
Yeah.
right there on the bottom. Like there is never a moment in this movie where I'm just like dozing off or I'm
No,
distracted.
and
Like
it's
this
how long is
movie
this? This
has
movie's
me.
what, 3 hours?
2 hours and 14, I believe.
I didn't feel it.
No, I don't feel it at all either, bro. And that's because like so this really I'm glad that he waited to make this movie because I feel like it's 2 hours and 8 minutes, Brad. Oh no, 2 hours and 28, Brad.
Yeah,
I'm glad he waited to make this movie like after Batman Begins, The Prestige, and The Dark Knight because like I feel like he took everything he learned from like working on like big budget films like The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, and he used that in here, and he was like, well, how can I blend these two things that I love so much, like science fiction and action, and create this hybrid genre film that like I'm gonna play with for the next couple of years in my arsenal. And he creates like this movie that was able to stay in the zeitgeist for so many years, and also like kind of change the way that we saw blockbusters for a bit.
yeah, agreed. And sci-fi. Sci-fi
Yeah,
was big thanks to Nolan. Sci-fi and comic book movies back in the 2000s.
yeah,
But like I think just this one sentence gains me a little bit more respect for Nolan, deciding he needed more experience before tackling a production of this magnitude and complexity. Can you imagine like James Cameron going, "Yeah, I can't tackle that for the complexity. I need a little more movies under my belt." No, because
yeah.
James Cameron's ass.
And he just kept, yeah. And like you look at look at his career before that, right, Brad? Like he's worked with obviously like really complex stories like Memento, right? But he's pretty much kept his films to be really grounded. They're very like mostly noir based, and they're what's it called? They're very like grounded films. Like he really hasn't hit the high concept stuff yet, right? Because he had Following, he had Memento, and he had Insomnia.
Hmm.
All those straight up noir films.
Yeah, and really good. And then you had the comic book Batman films, which were
Hmm.
very straightforward, technically. If
Yeah,
you look at those, they're very straightforward.
yeah, and then he goes into the Prestige, and he's like, "Oh, now I'm starting to play a little bit
And
with the
yeah,
story here."
yeah, he's playing with a little bit of story, and then what we've come to know as Nolan's twists.
Yeah, and then he hits this in 2010, and I feel like that's really where Nolan finds himself, and I
Hmm.
think that's where that signature style of his becomes like bigger. It's also like I was gonna say he in this one he like blends everything he's worked with up until this point. He blends the sci-fi, he blends the action, he blends the noir, and he makes this like hybrid film that like
Yeah, this is
transcends
this
genre.
is this is pure Nolan. Like,
Yeah,
like everything up to this point, he's just kind of combined everything: the weird twist, the noir, the sci-fi, and like even a little bit of that Batman kind of in the background there, like
yeah,
action film. He's combined all that to make this,
yeah.
which
And
honestly, not many films like this have ever been made. And
no,
probably, and you can say that too about Interstellar. That's a sci-fi that's just fucking
emotionally
above
grounded
and
as well.
yeah, mostly
Yeah,
grounded, but above and beyond most other sci-fis.
yeah, man. And just like I said, this movie's fantastic, bro. I really do like this movie a lot. It's crazy. Like I haven't seen this film since probably 2011. I'm gonna be real honest with y'all.
Yeah.
I probably haven't seen this since 2011, and it's still damn good. Oh, and we can't just get out of here without talking about that score. Hans Zimmer's score is
Ooh.
incredible.
Oh, I was listening to the end with the credits. I never listened to the end credits, but I was listening to that just as it scrolled. I'm like, yeah, this is dope.
Fucking dope, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
and Tom Hardy even puts in a good performance.
Hell
How about
yeah.
that? Yeah. I like
Yeah.
seeing Tom Hardy on screen as this guy because it was like, oh, this is just fucking Tom Hardy playing Tom Hardy.
Yeah. It's, and it's like it's all his regulars, right? Like the one like of course like Bale isn't in this, but like he like Joseph Gordon-Levitt like
Yeah.
he's in there like
I'm
Killian
telling
Murphy.
you,
Killian
other
Murphy,
than
bro.
like three people, it's all the Dark Knight Rises cast. That's what that is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
Yeah.
Killian Murphy, Michael Caine, Tom Hardy, Marion Cotillard, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You just need a fucking Bale in there.
Yeah, yeah. No, like you change out DiCaprio for Bale and you got it.
But I love that DiCaprio's in this, bro. I think
Yeah, he
that
played.
like
Oh,
plays that role so well, bro.
like the brokenhearted, just shoveled dude who doesn't quite know what reality is anymore since his wife is gone. Yeah,
Yeah, and his chemistry with Marion Cotillard just works so well too, and just man, like I said, this movie's fantastic, man. I really do love this movie. I think that everything's just so perfect with this. It's just it's hard to like talk about this film without discussing just the impact it had on film in it's in what's it called blockbusters at the time. And yeah, like this movie was everywhere, dude. All right, Brad. Well, what's your final verdict here?
I'm gonna give Inception a 10 out of 10.
Yep, this is my second favorite Nolan film, and it stays at what I gave it when I first saw it. I was blown away, and now rewatching it almost 12 years later, it's still a 10 out of 10 for me, man. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's probably after rewatching, it's probably my favorite, like Interstellar and then Inception.
yeah. Interstellar and Inception, and I have Dark Knight at number three, but like God, the Prestige was so good,
Prestige
man.
so good.
Yeah. So I know
Yeah,
that.
I mean, and Prestige was I think I had it too, but then after rewatching Inception, because I think you're right. I haven't seen Inception since 2010 or 2011.
Yeah, 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 and but just like I'm saying, man, this really was that culminating one for him. Like that's really what set him apart. And he had already created some fantastic work before, but this really did like bring it all to the
Well,
forefront.
and I think Marvel deserves to thank him for a few, because you look at this and you see a lot like Marvel is just
Yeah, they
oh yeah,
borrowed.
yeah,
Yeah,
they totally did.
yeah, they 100% borrowed from him,
Yeah.
bro. Ain't no fucking way that they didn't borrow from him. He what's it called? He created this whole visual style here that like Doctor Strange has everything to thank it for.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, man, guys, this movie's fantastic, y'all. I hope if anybody hasn't rewatched this movie in a while, I highly recommend just sit down and rewatch this movie, especially like. I know this is gonna be nothing like Oppenheimer, but I'm saying like if you're trying to watch some Nolan before you see Oppenheimer, consider giving this a rewatch because this is fantastic, man. And
I mean,
it's
like, and Oppenheimer is probably going to be a straightforward watch if it's based on a book. I don't see him like. There's no twist in Oppenheimer. Like you know what Oppenheimer did. Like there's no going to be fucking twist of like, and then he handed over the notes to the Nazis. It's like it's not going to do that.
yeah. It's not like he's gonna change like the course of history and be like, yeah, he actually went to the Nazi side and made a fucking bomb for the
Yeah,
Nazis.
yeah, and like World War II was totally changed. This isn't a Tarantino movie coming up. Although I
Just
do love Inglorious Bastards, and I wish it did kind of end in that route. But hey, that's what you got movies for.
well, Brad, that concludes our review. Wait, whatever. 1 out of 10. No gravely voices. No talk of hockey pads. And who made the decision to see Tom Hardy's whole voice in real
And real
voice?
voice.
Oh my God!
I'll
Bless you,
allow you to
Stacy.
die.
Yeah. Instead,
Oh, your mic. You did something to your mic, bro.
what happened?
I don't know. Something weird happened to your mic. You're
Uh,
good now.
I'm good now.
You're good now.
You couldn't hear me or what?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say that he still does kind of an odd accent in this one, right?
Yeah. Well, I think this is a real voice, though.
Oh, really? Oh
I think
shit,
so.
never mind.
He's British. If you didn't know, he might be exaggerating with the British. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that concludes our review of. Wait, what did he say? What again? The twist is that it was all a dream. Oppenheimer was just making water balloons the whole time. God damn it,
Ah,
Stacy.
he
Well, that
discovered
concludes
H2O.
that concludes our review of Inception. We want to thank you all so much for joining us. If you would be so kind, check us out on the nerdcore.com, Twitter at the nerdcore underscore, Instagram at the nerdcore, patreon.com/the nerdcore. For $1 a month, you get this episode live and early before anybody else gets to listen to it or watch it. And of course, if you want to talk to us about the films of Christopher Nolan or Inception, and Inception, to be honest. You should go and check out our Discord. It's linked in the YouTube description and in the audio descriptions for your podcast apps. Comment on our YouTube video as well. We would like to interact with you guys. Review crew, I'm calling y'all out. I'd really like to know what y'all think about this movie. Have y'all rewatched it in a bit? I would really like to hear y'all's thoughts because this I truly was surprised rewatching this. Like I was like, wow, I can forget how much I like this movie.
Yeah, and that's saying something, especially in a world where everything is visual effects. And
Yeah.
you go back to this and you're just still blown away.
It's like, oh wow, like this is what it looked like when you would give people like the proper time to work on their visual effects and previs
What?
and like you wouldn't rush them out. Like wow, like this is what
What?
used to happen, right?
What?
What? Who
When you
knew? Who
supported
knew?
a director's vision? What?
Yeah, who knows what happens when you support the people who work hard for you, like visual effects, and you don't what's it called treat them as just what's it called robotic machines, right? Yeah. But if you're watching this on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel. Click the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode of the podcast that drops. Make sure that you're also leaving a like on this video. It would help it out as well as getting it to more eyes. If you're on the podcast platforms, make sure that you leave a 5-star review. It would help us out a lot as well. Make sure that you're also keeping up to date with us on all the things on socials, like I said there. We want to thank our Patreon supporters for making this possible. Thank you to our wonderful patrons. You all are the best. We want to specifically also thank our producer, Shane. Where can you find Shane, Brad?
You follow our friend Shane at twitch.tv/XSRK or on Twitter at thriftedil or go buy something from the Suppy God at prisoncityvintage.com.
Damn straight, y'all. And of course, we'll be back on Thursday, a little later for the patrons, live and early, right? We're gonna be a little late on that one because I'm gonna be watching Oppenheimer, as you all know. Oppenheimer's 3 hours fucking long, so it's probably gonna start around like 9 o'clock ish or 9:15 that we're doing the podcast at. But don't be afraid. We'll be talking about 20th century women as we look at one of the roles from Miss Greta Gerwig as we still prepare for Barbie. But in the meantime, it has been a wonderful time, and we will see you all then. Brad, let's go ahead and get him out of here.
All right, we're home. Thank you, being host as always. Thank you to Stacy for joining us today. Thank you to all our listeners out there, all our Patreon supporters. We appreciate each and every one of you. And in this episode is all I gotta say is wake up, roll. Wake up.
Ah.
Young Goat out.